Listen, son. 30,000 years ago.
Wow, so long.
There was a hero who imprisoned the two Sisters of Chaos.
Sisters.
You are the reincarnation of that hero.
I am?
And you must travel to their prison and defeat them once and for all.
Oh, I can do it for sure. Ain't nothing.
Travel to the Temple of Eternity.
Oh, I've been there 1,000
You will
times.
find the Sisters of
They ain't
Light
shit
and
for
Dark.
real.
Will you shut up and listen? Damn!
Have you ever thought about what would happen if you took Metroid and slapped Ikaruga on it? Because for some reason Housemarque did, and it turns out it's fucking awesome. Welcome to Abandoned Save, where I highlight the good, not legendary games of the past that you forgot about and left that save in the dust. Just a couple years ago, Housemarque took a gamble and made their first attempt at a AAA game with Returnal, and that game is incredible. Known for its unforgiving difficulty and being the first real standout title for the PS5 early on in that console's life, a lot of people probably first heard about Housemarque from that game. But they're actually Finland's oldest development studio and have been making smaller games for a long time. Back when the Xbox 360 was still calling smaller downloadable games arcade games, Housemarque's Outland came across my feed, and I knew from the trailer that I had to pick it up. So here I am over 10 years later playing it again so I can talk about it here. The game starts off by giving us the setup for the story, which is very brief and takes a backseat to gameplay here. A man essentially learns from a shaman that two sister goddesses created the world and then wanted to destroy it 30,000 years ago, probably because they saw everything going on in the world today, but they were imprisoned by a hero before they could. Now they're attempting to escape from their confinement, but our character is the reincarnation of the hero, and he must stop them. Great. Glad we got that out of the way. Now we're right into the action, and the first thing you'll notice is that this guy is tall, yellow Sonic the Hedgehog. You move extremely quickly, and you can jump incredible distances, all without power-ups, despite this being a metroidvania-like game. You can also wall jump. We'll get to the power-ups later, but in this game, you have a guiding light that will always show you the correct way to go, making it hard to get lost unless you take a wrong turn, because it doesn't follow you backwards if you do. It only shows you the way forward from the farthest point you've been. As we make our way through the tutorial, we'll also come across these blue lights as well, which are evil light energy, and the start of the core mechanic of the game that we'll see soon. Ahead we find a shrine which gives us a sword. That's like really long, man. Are you compensating for something? Mommy issues? No? Enemies will start to show up now for some basic combat, and vases can be broken to earn coins, but we don't know what those are for yet. You can also destroy health pickups that you don't need to get yourself a few extra coins. Within a few minutes, we hit another shrine that gives us the slide ability, which is also an attack. So you can already see that this is a smaller game, coming in at only about 5 hours for me to finish it here, because the power-ups are coming really quickly early on, and we didn't have to fight any kind of boss to get them. There are also checkpoint beacons throughout the game that save when we get near them, and we dodge some blue Pac-Man pellets until we arrive at the crossroads of the world. Apparently that's just a few feet away from our shaman friend. Well, as long as you can jump about 6 times your height to get there anyway. Here there's a huge shrine, and our hero has an Akira moment.
Leave me alone! Akira!
This allows you to play as the hero 30,000 years ago on his journey to imprison the sisters, where you have the ability to swap between light and dark forms. This is the main mechanic of the game I was talking about. You cannot be hurt by the color you currently are unless it's an enemy physically attacking you, and you can only harm enemies when you're the opposite color of them, usually meaning you have to put yourself in danger in order to do damage. It seems very simple here, but trust me when I say they take this about as far as it can meaningfully go within a 5-hour playthrough. Eventually we arrive at the location of the sisters. Stop it! At that point we don't get to see the fight, however, and return to our hero from the start, yellow and powerless once again. I opened up the map for the first time here, and frustratingly, the map only shows the current screen you're on, though it shows it in complete detail other than hidden pathways, so you can use it to plan where you think collectibles are most likely to be, and see what paths do and do not lead to progress. From there, we're railroaded into the jungle level. For a Metroidvania, this game is very linear, and there are minimal things to go back to old levels to get. It's focused more on the swapping mechanics and combat than anything else, though I assure you it is worth it. If you're looking for puzzles and multiple paths like in most of these kinds of games, you're not going to find it here, but Housemarque does have another puzzle for you to figure out: how to survive. I picked up one of the collectibles here, and they're slightly more challenging to reach than the required path. They don't do anything at first, but if you collect enough of them, you can get things like double sword damage and revealing all the large vases on the map for coins, so they do at least give you something for the time if you decide to go around and collect them all. I also ran into my first upgrade station, which is what the coins are for. Trade enough, and you can get 1 extra heart added to your health. A nice incentive for finding coins and defeating the enemies that you can otherwise ignore as you go. Eventually, about 20 minutes into the game, I reached the shrine that gives you the power of blue. Oh, I'm sorry, light. We don't have red yet, but have shed our yellow skin and become a permanent member of the Blue Man group. Not only are we immune to blue light now and can stare at screens as much as we want to, Mom, but our damage has also been increased and we can defeat red enemies. It's very satisfying after dodging all these blue light traps to get there, to now be able to just walk through all of them on the way out, and we can also use the blue platforms that we just phased through before. Amazingly, despite literally having a guide showing you exactly where to go, I still managed to get lost here and go the wrong way for a while. My personal battle with maps is legendary and never-ending. A little backtracking gets us right back to the supposedly idiot-proof guiding light though, and I stumbled on the first of many co-op challenges. One of the more unique things about this game, other than its form-changing mechanics, is that it's actually fully playable in story mode in co-op. It's not even one player at a time, or one per light or dark form, or anything like that. You both play at the same time. That also means that it cannot be played locally and is online-only co-op, and because this game is currently difficult to get, that also means you can only do that on Xbox now, assuming that the servers for this game are still available. But it's a really cool idea for a combat-based metroidvania, and I think it would be a lot of fun for more games to try something out like this. What really struck me as I played through the jungle at this point was how beautiful the graphics are. This is a 14-year-old game I'm playing on an Xbox 360, and sure, it's not Ori and the Blind Forest, but it is a stunning art style that must have taken a lot of work to get this good. Ahead, we finally acquire the jungle level's Guardian Key, which you need to take on the boss through the gate that we've actually already seen earlier in the level. By using some shortcuts, the journey back is thankfully different and really quick, and we can now take on the golem. This fight is baby's first Shadow of the Colossus and not very hard, though the rain effect that you have to dodge looks amazing. Defeating him gives us the ground stomp ability, and we'll return to the crossroads, given a bit of backstory on the boss we just beat, and the shrine lights up to signify our victory. So naturally, after getting the powers of light in the jungle, we are now heading to the underworld to get the powers of darkness. Enemies become more common here, including these suicide bomber armadillos that feel like they're from a different game, and these underworld guards. The guards take 4 hits, and you only have a 3-hit melee combo, but I realized that you can cancel just about anything into the slide attack, so a quick 3-hit combo into a slide gets all 4 hits before they can even touch you. It's pretty slick combat for this kind of game. Hell also has lots of lasers. I think that's probably accurate. Oh, and little baby dragons. Wait a second, is this the underworld or a 12-year-old boy's idea of the perfect fantasy world? It's me, I'm the 12-year-old boy. Lasers and dragons are sick. Finally, we reach the shrine and gain the powers of darkness, so we can now swap at will. This has no cooldown and can be done at any time, even while performing other actions, and there's a reason for that. They throw things at you so fast sometimes that you need to be able to swap this quickly. This fountain is a basic obstacle at this point, and things get much tougher from here. Further on, we eventually encounter bombs that can break down walls for us, which isn't going to be used too much, but just enough to break up the action a little bit. But now with enemies standing in the middle of alternating color pulses, it starts to become confusing remembering which color you're currently on and which one you need to be, since it's same color to avoid damage but opposite color in order to deal damage. You can see the gears turning in my brain in this fight. It also conditions you to think about swapping colors to absorb the light balls safely, even when you can just avoid them altogether. Or at least, that's the excuse I'm using for the reason I tried to change colors here instead of just staying under the platform like you're supposed to. I realized how dumb I was on the second try, and right beyond that, we get the Smite ability, which uses a new yellow resource that we can charge up by killing enemies. This attack is important because it does damage regardless of our current color, which means you can use it in situations where you need to attack, but are forced to be a certain color to avoid damage, like right here. Now we have worm dragon things, and the color swapping is starting to get a little bit more intense. They do a pretty good job of ramping it up, with occasional difficult sections in between. There are also shrines that will now give you increased energy for coins instead of health. Where exactly am I depositing the coins anyway? Straight into the bucket they hold, I guess? I don't know. Anyway, this room is exactly what I'm talking about when I say the puzzle is to survive. There are colored spikes that go up and down when you change, and a ton of light bullets with a red platform you need to jump on through the blue machine gun. We're starting to see the potential of what they can do with these mechanics, and once you get used to it, it's really fun to pull off. Finally, we can make our way over to the boss of the underworld, the High Priestess. She keeps the color changing for herself in the first phase and throws rocks at us, where I once again did not think about just standing under platforms to dodge. Then we enter a permanently falling area where she takes the platforms away and changes position and color while doing it. Falling doesn't instantly kill you, it's not that cruel, it just takes one heart, and after a while she'll start shooting some lasers of her own as well. I got this on the second try, but it was probably the biggest challenge we've had so far. With the underworld cleared, the next level is the city. I love the visuals of the jungle, but this city is probably my favorite level in the game. It offers good challenges while not being too crazy, and I still only have 6 max health at this point, so getting hit is still somewhat punishing. Plus, you get a fucking Kamehameha. This game really is my perfect fantasy world. I really love these obstacles too. It looks like they were having an apocalypse rave or something. This is the end of the world Bourbon Street right here. Further ahead, we now have blocks that we can stand on and swap around with our forms, and this section's really cool to navigate. And then there's this section here where one mistake sends you down into the spikes now that we've gotten used to the blocks. Once we get through the maze, we get a mini boss for the first time, which is this big guy with a shield. He doesn't change colors, and his attacks are really simple though, so he's honestly less of a challenge than getting through the maze was. Just slide into his Achilles toe and hack away at his head. These obstacles here still give me fits just looking at them. Probably a patience issue, which I have, but I found them difficult to get past without taking some damage. They've now killed me twice, and I had to stop here for a second to contemplate my will to live before trying again. So up here, I'm just going to damage boost through them, fuck it. The shrine in front of them gives us the charged attack, which can break down walls and give a small dash, but if there's much of a use for it, I didn't find it. It blocks critical areas, but as far as I can tell, there's no shine spark shenanigans you can pull with this thing, which is a shame, but I might be wrong about that, so take that with a grain of salt. With that, we grab the Guardian Key and make our way over to the Mother of Eyes, a giant spider that shoots pellets in the form of webs, and the most unique boss we've seen so far. You have to shoot it with flames to get it to move on to the second area, where we fight it with the conveniently placed red cannon. Whoever put that there was aware of the spider problem, and they were right. This thing should not be alive. This game must be taking place in Australia. It's a bit annoying that you have to do the first phase and then walk over to the second phase every time you die, and you probably will die once or twice on phase 2 because it is filling the screen with projectiles, and you have to move to both sides of the screen a few times in order to defeat it. Then the lore comes on, and this really reminds me of Rom from Bloodborne. Now to move into the final level before the end of the game. The sky, of course. This is like simultaneously ice-themed and sky-themed for some reason. I don't know if it's because it gets cold up there, or maybe there were 2 different levels at one point that were consolidated into one. Not sure, but the enemy count and obstacles have been ramped up once again, and at this point with 7 health and now 4 uses of the Kamehameha or the Smite attack, it's gotten pretty hard to die. The game maybe could have benefited from a harder difficulty that drops health less often, especially with checkpoints littered throughout the levels and an automatic one at every screen transition, so dying isn't really that punishing. There's a shrine early on in this level that gives us the ability to absorb any light bullets near us and pulse it out as an attack, which is kind of a get-out-of-jail-free card that you really don't need, which is exactly why I never used it and not because I totally forgot about it almost immediately, for sure. Also, I hate these color-changing fish. If you hit them as the wrong color, they attack and die and drop nothing. And I swear they can tell exactly when the perfect time to change is to fuck you over. Blocking our path further on is a new mini-boss, one of the dragon guys that can change color. It's once again not much trouble though, and we get the final power in the game, launch. This really reminds me of Celeste, allowing you to launch yourself in 4 different directions. Just imagine a game like Celeste having this color changing mechanic too. It would have been insane. Unlike all the other levels, the key is right by the boss door this time, and now we're facing a huge ass dragon. Hell yeah. But first, we have to run from the lasers he's shooting from his, laser teats? You know, I'm not going to think about his anatomy anymore. We get up into the sky on his back, and now we have to avoid these meteors, which are color-coded, while also swapping colors ourselves to stomp his weak points, and the more damage we do, the more stuff he rains down on us. I barely made it through, and with him defeated, we can enter the Temple of Eternity. This place is very end-of-the-worldy, and the enemies all change color on a hidden timer, so you have to take that into account as well as all the regular obstacles now. Look what you have to go through here just to get a few extra coins. Jumping through a few more obstacles puts us in the Trail of Tears. Seriously, they named a map the Trail of Tears. That's some strong connotations for a game like this, but it is supposed to be the climb up to the battle for the fate of the world, so I guess it makes sense. Especially with these fucking jellyfish on this ladder. These little bastards are more of an obstacle than most of the enemies in this game. We pick up the Guardian Key and run through some more stuff to find ourselves at the battle with the Sisters of Chaos, finally.
What a thrill.
I said stop that! This boss battle is the entire reason I remember this game and wanted to replay it. They take the mechanics they've used so far and turn them up to 11. You have to jump around on platforms without falling off or you lose a heart, and the sisters are only vulnerable after you defeat a few floating things going around, which can also hurt you, while they fire off more projectiles than anything else in this game. This fight really reminds me of the organist fight they made in Returnal. It's an absolute spectacle and a great test of the skills you've built up throughout the game. And a bit of your patience too, as you need to climb the ladder to start the fight every time you die.
Play it one more time, I dare you.
Melee attacking the sisters is also pretty difficult once they become vulnerable, so I relied on the beam attack as much as I could to do damage without putting myself in harm's way. I'm not sure if co-op would make this easier or harder, but I can just imagine losing at the last second because my friend died and having to climb that ladder again together like a walk of shame. Once you finally manage to defeat them, the prison shatters, the sisters see the world the humans have built up, and decide it's not their place to destroy it and set off. So you're telling me we did all that for nothing? It took me almost 40 minutes to beat that boss and they just walk away like nothing happened? I know the story wasn't the focus, but come on, that is not satisfying. Housemarque is known for a few games besides Returnal like Matterfall and Resogun, but I'm surprised that this game doesn't get that kind of recognition. It is a bit short, but it was made by a small team and it doesn't cost much. It's been added and removed from Steam multiple times at this point, and as of recording it's not available. Probably licensing issues with the fact that Sony now owns Housemarque and Ubisoft published this game, but it's still available and fully backwards compatible on the Xbox store for only $10. I'm not sure if the co-op servers are still online, but even playing this game single player is totally worth it, especially for a cheap price if you manage to catch it on sale. Just as long as you're not red-blue colorblind, then you can go fuck yourself, I guess. There's also an arcade mode for each area with a time limit and scoring system that has a leaderboard if that's your jam. I wish Outland got the chance to be a bit longer and more challenging, though the fight at the end makes it all worth it. It's a ton of fun, and I wish there was more like that in the game. I think this game shows that Sony was right to trust Housemarque with a full AAA game even before Returnal ended up being successful, and I look forward to their next release. Until then, if you'd like to see more content like this, please like the video or subscribe to help me grow, and I'll see you in the next one.